experience of Rosie Music was that whenever she would talk or communicate with anybody, she would always sing a song. She would, whatever her communication is, it would be in a song. And I thought that was very sweet of her. And no matter what it was, you know, when you get a song sang to you, it's always a beautiful thing.
Hi, I'm Karen from Activities, and we're talking about remembering residents. Art Taylor, man of few words, but every time I would go down the hallway, he'd go, "Hey!" and I'd have to stop and play the balloon with him because he loved the balloon. I once talked to some relatives of his, and they had said that he was the best uncle ever, that he was always there for his nieces and nephews.
Sarah Kelly, a nurse with Fernie Keaty, she had a fond memory of Mr. Larry Socks. He never called her by her name. He always greeted her with a smile, and he nicknamed her Mom, even though he was old enough to be her father, and she will always remember him for that. I remember Doris Lake. She came to our Bible studies and devotion. She was a very quiet woman, very strong in her faith. She seemed to enjoy being with us, but I remember most her daughters and her husband. They were all so kind and just such a lovely family, and they just stuck together, and I just remember just the sweetness of all these sisters just surrounding their parents in love.
Hi, this is Shelley. I wanted to talk a little bit about Aaron Hollygroth. He originally admitted to us in short-term rehab and just loved it here so much that he ended up becoming one of our independent living residents. He was one of those guys that was very different, brought a lot of diversity to our facility because he was this gentleman that his life was a builder, but his passion was music, and he was an avid guitar player. And when we spoke about this, I told him about my love for Eric Clapton, and he was just so thrilled because that was one of his favorite guitar players. I went to see Eric Clapton, and I surprised him and brought him back an Eric Clapton t-shirt, and he was just tickled. After Aaron passed away, his family sent me this lovely photograph of all of his rock and roll t-shirts that had been made into a quilt. A few days after that, his family actually showed up at the facility, and they said, Shelley, we did not include the t-shirt that you got him because we felt it was best if you would have it as a remembrance as yourself. So this is my t-shirt that Aaron wore and that they returned back to me after he passed away. So Aaron Hollygroth is just one of our wonderful residents that I will miss.
What I remember most about Bunny was her smile. It's a smile that I will never forget. It didn't matter what kind of day you were having. When you went in and you stopped in to see her, Bunny would always make you smile, and you always felt better when you came out from seeing her. She always loved to participate in activities, music, bingo, anything. She especially loved the times that she was able to go out on the bus and her son would join us for lunch outings or dinner outings. I think that was probably the highlight of her day. She loved spending time with her family, and Bunny is just one of those folks that I won't ever forget.
When I think of Elizabeth Carr, I think of every time that I would go down the hall and I would stop into her room and visit her. She once told me that she would watch me park my car at the beginning of the day when I would be walking in for work and then when I would leave at night. And she said that I always had a smile on my face, and she said she just always enjoyed looking out of her window to see me coming and going. Elizabeth was one of these really sweet ladies that just really broke my heart when she left us, but she was just a very dear lady, and we were glad to take care of her when we did.
Hi, I'm Darcy from Activities. When I think of Robert Wyatt, he was such a gentleman. He's the kind of a person who would hold the door open for you. His wife would come in here every day to see him, and he enjoyed doing crafts with us so much. We would come down to the auditorium, play music, and he just had so much fun, and he was very enjoyable.
Hi, my name is Shannon Kelball, and I work in the activities department here at Farney-Keedy. I want to share a memory, or my most fondest memory, of Riley Trumpauer. He wasn't one for group activities, so we did a lot of one-to-one visits with him, and the two things that stick out most in my mind about him was his love of his wife and his love of hunting. He found out that my husband was an avid hunter, and he'd always have questions about it, and I never have any answers, and he would be like, well, what good are you then? And we'd kind of chuckle, and then he'd go right back to telling me about how much he loved his wife. And I love hearing stories about people who have been married for 50 plus years, and Mr. Trumpauer really did love his wife.
Hi, Ronald Crum. He was one of our residents that stole my heart, but not only stole my heart, stole my husband's heart. Just a very sweet, gentle man, and we were very blessed to have him at the facility for when we did.
All right, I just wanted to say a few things about Alice Carpenter. I had the honors and privilege of getting to know her a few years back in a different facility that I worked at. She was one of the most loving and caring women you could ever come across. No matter how bad she felt, she always tried to do everything for herself because she didn't want to bother anybody. She always thought of you, always put a smile on your face no matter what. Her family was everything to her. Her granddaughter Casey was the world to her, and her kids. Alice just had the most loving and kind heart that you could ever imagine. She's going to be greatly missed.
My name's Becky, and I would like to say a few words about Ethel King. I met Ethel about 3.5 years ago when I worked in the activities department. And Ethel liked to be around people, but not all of the time, on her own terms. She might not have wanted to participate in the activity that we were doing, but she wanted to know what was going on. Ethel had a really strong personality, a tell you like it is type of woman. She didn't mince her words, and I really admired that about her. I know she always enjoyed her visits with her sister Mary, who I'm also very privileged to know. I will miss Ethel, and I'll never forget her.
My name is Kim. I know Mr. Hobson. Back when he first came, I was a housekeeper. Him and I got to really talking. We got to know each other. And when I had my baby, I came in, and he was so happy to see her. It was wonderful. He's a great soul. We miss him a lot.
Hi, my name's Haley, and I'm sharing a memory on behalf of Amber Rupert, one of our physical therapists. I didn't know at the time of Hazel Eichenberger's first therapy evaluation just how special she would be to me. She was so polite and sweet throughout her rehabilitation and was a go-getter. She had wonderful taste in clothes and loved to reminisce about all of her children, aka the hundreds of people that she worked with, guided, and mentored throughout her career at the bank. She had a kind soul who loved to help others. It wasn't until later in our time working together that I had learned that she was a relative by marriage to my favorite 5th grade teacher. Miss Eichelberger was always a pleasure to work with and spend time with.
I just wanted to share a memory that I have regarding Mr. Frederick Reel. I was not able to meet Mr. Reel in person, but I did meet his wife, and she shared with me how wonderful her husband was and how, it just seemed like everyone who knew him was blessed, and I wish I would have gotten a chance to meet him as well.
Hi, my name is Paula Webb, and I took care of Sylvia Myers up in ALU. My memories of Sylvia was the greatest smile she always carried on her, and no matter what you said to her, she always had a little giggle with her. And And I would always ask her about her pictures on the wall, and she could tell me each and every one of the children that was on the wall and the history of them. I will always also carry her in my heart the rest of my life.
Hi, I'm Joanne, and I only have brief memories of Alex, but I remember him saying to me at all times, "Did you read today? You got to read." He would always tell us, "You got to read. Read something today. That will help you a long way." That's my memory of Alex.
What I remember about Daisy is she was always wandering around in her wheelchair, always wanting to be around people, and always making jokes and having everybody laughing. And we miss her laughs and her smile and her jokes, and we really miss her, and we'll always love her and always remember her.
Hi, my name's Maureen Baker. I have very fond memories of Joyce Strang. She was very soft-spoken, and we always used to converse about her past and her husband and her kids. We would talk about our kids and her grandkids, and I always enjoyed that with her.
Hi, this is Katie. I'm one of the nurses at Farney Keedy. I remember Eileen very well. When she first came here, she was very quiet, didn't talk. Then just one day, she would be in her wheelchair, rolling all over the floor, going here and there, getting in the hot chocolate and the coffee and the creamer. A couple times I remember her feet being propped up on the dining room table. She was very fun to have, and I'm glad she was here. I'm sorry she's gone. In a better place. Thank you.
My name's Melanie Bischoff, and when I think of Sylvia Huntsberger, I remember her beautiful piercing blue eyes, and you could really feel her kind soul through those.
I'm Haley Green, and I'm sharing a memory from Lisa Hines. Kay Strange was a pleasure, always had a smile. Thank goodness for her husband who helped with her meds. Kay was greatly loved by her husband, who was very dedicated to her. Nothing kept him away. She was an extremely lucky woman. Her eyes would get a gleam in them when she would see him walk in. It would melt anyone's heart.
I'm Dorsey from Activities. When I think of Betty Abbott, I think about sitting on the bed with her, and we would be looking at pictures of animals. She enjoyed that very much. And she would sit there and talk about her husband and her. They both worked at Fairchild, and I also worked there, and I think we were all there at the same time.
Hi, I would like to talk about William Bill Waters. I first met Bill when he actually volunteered here at Farney Keedy many years ago. At that time, I did not know that he and his wife were residents. He volunteered to take our ladies and sometimes our gentlemen to the beauty shop, and I'm not sure he knew how valuable that was to the nursing staff. They have hard jobs when they're working on the unit, and to take someone down to the beauty parlor is such a great help, and we really appreciated it. It was a very high honor to be able to help care for Bill in his later days, and he and his wife will always hold a special place in my heart because, you know, they first gave of themselves, and it is so appreciated. Thank you.
Sharing a memory from Lisa Hines. Carol McIntyre was a painter, loved to travel, and you could always find her reading a book. She loved her daughter and was so proud of her. She didn't like banana muffins, so I would bring in those big muffins for her, and she really enjoyed those.
Hi, I'm Paula Webb, and I knew Nora Mae Litton. I actually came here when she still was working here and knew her back in her apartment when we took care of her. My memory of her was she was so sweet and kind, and she wanted to do everything you wanted to do. She was like an older sister to me, and I will always carry her in my heart.
I'm Kay, and when I think of Charles Licklater, I remember him always wanting to be called Joe. And I had a little nickname for him, and I called him Jojo. He was always very polite to me, and when I went in, he was a happy man.
Hi, I'm Jenna Hoffman, and when I think of Joanne, I remember when I was a home health nurse, I actually was one of her nurses in her home. So when she came here, it was really special to be able to create that link between knowing her home and how much that meant to her, and now caring for her in the nursing facility. So I was able to bridge that gap, and she was very special to me, and when I think of her, I always think of her fondly and think of her home and how much she really enjoyed life and loved her home.
What I can remember of Donna Rice, she was a very happy little soul and always walking around smiling and just as friendly and sweet as can be. And we really miss her and never forget about her. We always loved her.
Hi, I'm Karen from Activities. I'm remembering Tasha Kidweiler. Every time I'd see her in a wheelchair, I'd walk up to her and go, Tasha, Eunice, Sweeney, Kidweiler, and she'd look at me with the biggest smile on her face and say, you know me? And I'd say, yes, I do. And then I'd say, you're also Miss Green Bean, right? She says, yes, I like green beans. That's what I remember about Tasha.
I remember visiting Miss Ruth Daly. She was such a sweet lady. I was called to offer prayer with her, and I sat with her and we prayed, and I just remember she had a big smile on her face, and I'll never forget her smile.
I want to share my most fondest memory of Richard Eiler. He was an incredible storyteller. He could spin a tale and you didn't care whether it was true or not true. You were just waiting to hear how it ended, and it always was a great way to spend some time. He really should have been writing stories because he was just so good at just his imagination was incredible, and I always loved hearing his newest adventure or past life experience or things he used to do, from painting the White House to camping in Alaska, and my favorite was running from a bear. So I'm gonna miss Mr. Eiler's stories.
Hi, I'm Karen from Activities, and we're remembering residents. And I remember Art Longmore, James Longmore. We all called him Art. He loved his bingo. He would come to bingo every week, if not twice a week, and he would win his money. He won lots of bingo, he was very lucky, and he would buy all his jewelry for his women here. And he loved his women. He'd give them jewelry every week.
Hi, I want to share the fondest memory that I have of William Colson. He was my morning fist bump buddy. Every morning I'd see him and I'd be like, good morning, Mr. Colson, how's it going? And he'd put his fist up and we'd do a little fist bump. And one day I was running down the hallway and I was in a hurry and I didn't stop. And all of a sudden I hear this, hey, 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 and I run back. I thought something was wrong. And he had his fist up, waiting for his fist bump, and I wasn't going to get by him, and I really miss my morning meets and greets with him. So he was a pretty cool guy, and I'm going to miss him.
Go.
My name is Butch Burrell. I remember Bill Williams because he was a good resident out in the village. And always on Christmas, or no, right around Halloween, he always give us jars of peanut butter, not peanut butter, but apple butter. And we always kept in good contact with Bill. We always got his leaves cleaned out of his tree, out of his gutters and stuff like that. He was a good resident.
Hi, I'm Jenna Hoffman, and when I think of Dennis Masters, I think about the trains that he had, that he would donate or give to the Valley Mall. Me and my son would go every year to see those trains. It's a special memory for us, and every time I told Dennis that we would go, he would always light up and really enjoy that. He encouraged us also to go to the Roundhouse in Hagerstown, and we did that. It's a special memory during this time of year, and we really just thank Dennis for all he did.
I'm Kay, and when I think of Marie Jackson, I think she's one of the sweetest ladies around. She always loved it when I come in the room and be singing while I was doing my job. She just was a very sweet woman.
Hi, I'm Karen from Activities, and I'm remembering Donna Stockschlager. Every day when I would see her sitting out in her wheelchair, I would stop and sing to her, and I would sing Jesus Loves Me, and she would cry. At first I thought it was just she was upset until I talked with her son and found out she was a Sunday school teacher, and that was her favorite song to sing to the kids. So I know they were happy tears. When we weren't singing, we were always looking at pictures of horses, because she loved her horses, and she would have the biggest smile.
Hi, my name's Haley. I'm reading a memory on behalf of Amber Rupert, one of our physical therapists. I loved working with Miss Catherine Soule. She was one of the hardest workers I had met despite all of her adversities and aging. In addition, she was kind and open to trying new things that us crazy therapists sometimes throw at people. I was able to go with her for her home evaluation and meet her cat, Callie, who was the biggest cat I had ever seen. We always laughed about that each time we would see each other. As much as I know there is no place like home, I was always smiling when I would see her name come across, because I knew we would have an opportunity to work and laugh together again.
Hi, I'm Karen from Activities, and I'm remembering Annie Wolf. She was over in the memory care unit, and when I would go over and see her, she would just smile. She didn't say much, but I would stick her in front of the IN2L or a laptop or an iPad and show her funny baby videos, and she would just laugh, and she would just say, "Look at that, look at them go," and that's pretty much it.
Hi, I'm Darcy from Activities. When I think of Diane Householder, she was such a wonderful woman. She would want to go outside all the time. She didn't care if we would sit there all day long, but we just couldn't. So I would take her out for a half hour and she would be so tickled and happy. She enjoyed that so much in life.
Muriel Bunny Heckman. I first met Bunny on the day of her admission. I was actually the admitting nurse who admitted her here to Farney-Keedy, and she was accompanied by Jack, her husband, and Candy, her daughter. And one thing they say about nursing is you're here a lot of times on holidays and weekends, and that's the time you spend with those that you love most. So automatically she became a part of the Farney-Keedy family, as did Jack and Candy. They were always recognized on the units, talking to staff, brightening our days, and we so appreciated it. Muriel will be very missed.
Hi, I'm Amelita, and I'm working on the environmental, and I love Polly Mitchell. Since I'm working here for 5 years, and I was with her like 3 years, and I love her. She's like my grandmother, and I miss her a lot. She's a very nice lady.
Go. I know, my name's Kim. I know Otto. Oh, he is so sweet. The first time I talked to him, he kept talking about turnips. Everything about turnips and his family. It was so sweet. I sat for an hour and a half talking to him.
I'm Haley Green, and I'm sharing a memory from Darcy Thompson. Rose Messina loved to read. I would read a little to her, and then she would read a little to me. I would walk by her room, and she would say, "Hey, come here." I would say, "I love you, Rose," and she would say, "I love you too."
Shirley enjoyed volunteering, being helpful as much as she could. She volunteered with a group called Carol and Friends. She also loved her cat, Freddie. Freddie was one of those that would go around the neighborhood. So Shirley spending time with family, friends, and Freddie is what I'll remember most about Miss Shirley.
I'm sharing regarding James Martin. I'm sharing on behalf of Kim Trace, who said that she remembers the little things. And she said it was the way Mr. Martin would say good morning, and it was the way he would let her know when she was early for work, or the way he would ask how many steps she took that day, or how was the weather. And he always took care of Mrs. Martin, trying to make sure that she was just perfect. He took such good care of his wife. And Kim is really going to miss them both. Sandra Garrity, who is our dietary director, also remembered Mr. Martin, and she had the privilege of working with him on a project that was very near and dear to him. He wanted to make sure every resident had a voice when it came to their dietary needs and what they liked and disliked. So he helped her with a project that they came up with together. Mr. Martin was never worried about himself, but he would state, "I can eat anything," but he always was concerned about the residents here. They completed their project together, and because of him, every resident has a bigger voice now. Sharing some memories about Peggy Wilson. I've known Peggy for about 6 years. She volunteered to fold our bulletins for chapel services. She enjoyed visiting, and I would go in her room and we'd just sit and chat, and she always would show me pictures of like the little ones in her extended family, and she was very receptive to prayer and wanted me to pray with her before I'd leave her room, and I always enjoyed my visits with Peggy. I remember Mrs. Emma Henry. I've had the privilege of knowing her for about 6 years. She was just a sweet, sweet woman. She had an amazing innocence about her. She had a sensitive heart, and she cared about others. She always had a story to tell, and I enjoyed visiting with her. I saw her often. And we shared a birthday week, so we would celebrate our birthdays together, and she will forever be in my heart.
I love being able to play cards with Jerry at the table. He was always sitting out there playing. And I think every time I played with him, the rules would change just a little bit. But he was such a gentleman, and he really liked being around other residents and getting to play with them and just having something to do.
I remember Aunt Alma Rockwell. She was a very dear lady. She loved her husband and her daughter and her cats. She had one particular cat that she really, really liked, and she would ask me to pray for her cat. So we always said a prayer when I'd leave. She wanted me to visit her more often than I could, and unfortunately I was only able to visit about once a week, but she always enjoyed our visits, and she loved talking on the phone to her friends, and she loved getting her hair done, and she always said getting her hair done made her feel so nice. I'm sharing on behalf of our dietary director, Sandy Garrity. She remembers Sandra Kendall. She shares that she and Sandra had many conversations about the old days and their love of cooking. They would often trade recipes. She said that their love of cooking and food gave them a very special connection that she will remember for a lifetime. She said she would also make sure that when she got a shipment of bananas in, that Sandra would receive several green ones because Sandra didn't like the bananas with the brown spots. I'm sharing on behalf of Sandra in our accounting department regarding Mr. Harlan Nally. Sandra remembers she had to help do a room move, and she remembers going in to see Mr. Nally, and he was just smiling. She said he smiled a lot, and she could see the kindness in his eyes, and she just said she'll never forget the kindness that just poured from him. And she said she really wished she could have just given him a hug. That was a special memory for her.
I love seeing Miss Edie in the hallways. She was always so happy to see everybody. She just really loved people. And whenever she was happy, she was singing, which everybody loved to hear because she would just make the words up as she went along. But it was really a blessing to be able to see her, to be able to get to know her, and she'll be missed.
My memory of Florence Robb, she was a farmer, and she always talked to me about life on the farm. She told me stories of her kids and things that she did on the farm, and she was never afraid of a little hard work. She could drive every piece of farm equipment that was on the farm except one, and that wasn't because she was scared. It was because it was too expensive to fix if it got broken. She had a very large family, and they were her world, and she loved her children and her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren with all her heart and her soul. I'm sharing on behalf of Amber Rupert in therapy. She remembers Lita Bear. She said the first time Amber met Lita, she remembers Lita shooed her away, telling her that she didn't like therapy and she wasn't doing it. Multiple times Amber would approach her for therapy and she would get the same response. There came a point in time where Lita had a fall and she reluctantly let Amber work with her, and they became fast friends. Lita would call Amber Amanda. They shared many laughs together, and Lita shared many stories about her life. They talked about snacks and chocolate and horse racing and Amber's children. When Amber was pregnant with her third child, Lita tried her best to convince Amber to put her name and her husband's names together and call their daughter Chamber. Lita had done this with her husband and named their daughter Charlita. Lita was a very special woman and will always hold a special place in Amber's heart. The last time Amber saw Lita, she said, "Be sure to take care of those kids," and Amber says she plans on doing so.
Robert Bob Style. Bob, I would like to think of as my friend. Bob and I got along very well. Working in an office, I'm not on the floor as much as usual, but when I do go onto the units, it's nice to see a friendly face. And every time I saw Bob, it was like we were old friends, meeting for the first time in a long time. We would shake hands. I talked to him a lot. He was just so sweet, and gonna miss him very much. And Ellie, his wife, has become a dear friend as well, and I feel so privileged to have cared for Bob during the end of his life and, some of the better days here at Farney-Keedy. And I wish his family the best. And Ellie, my door's always open for you.
Sharon Lynn Davis, our executive assistant, she shared with me some memories that she had of Wade Schaefer. Mr. Schaefer would often stop by the executive suite and say hello and have a good day, and she really appreciated those visits. She recalls right before Christmas, he wanted to share some pictures of his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren with Sherry, and he was so proud of his family. He shared her pictures of a newborn, a little boy, and even though he had a mask on, the smile on his face was obvious. He also showed her pictures of a little girl, and the little girl wore glasses, and she remembered she was telling him how spectacular these glasses were on this little girl. She will miss Mr. Schaefer's visits very much. She looked forward to saying good morning to him when she came into work.
I want to share something about Ruby Bittner. She was the sweetest little lady, very quiet. And her daughter Charlene would always come in every day at lunch and sit with her mom. And you had to really work to get a response out of Ruby, but when you did, she had the most amazing laugh. It was kind of full body chuckle, and her eyes would sparkle and light up, and she let you put anything you wanted in her hair. I think the aides and the activity aides and the GNAs and the nurses would all come back, and we'd have bows or clips or something just for the one piece of hair on the side of her hair that we would pull her bangs back, and it always brought a smile to her face. And basically, that's what it is about here, is just trying to bring some joy and everything. And Ruby Bittner brought joy to me, so I'm gonna miss her too.
My memories of Joyce Kaufman was she would always attend second floor devotions. We would sing hymns and her face would just beam, and she always would reach out for one of those song lists, and she was just a very sweet lady. I enjoyed my visits with her. I enjoyed visiting with her in her room, and she will be missed.